The Mexican Civil Rights Movement started in 1902 during the Reclamation Act, which disposed many Mexicans of their land. 1910 was the beginning of the Mexican Revolution. It was a 10-year struggle to transform Mexican culture and government. In 1921, numbers of immigrants were limited allowed in the U.S. for the first time in history. And in 1925, border control was created by Congress. During World War II, Mexicanos are the largest serving ethnic group. During 1943, Macario Garcia becomes the first Mexican national to receive a U.S. Congressional Medal of Honor. Yet, it is refused his service at Oasis Cafe near his home in Texas. The U.S. launches an agreement with Mexico to, that's another information. In 1943, Macario Garcia becomes the first Mexican national to receive a U.S. Congressional Medal for Honor, but he was refused service at Oasis Cafe near his home in Texas. During 1944, Servicemen's Ready Adjustment Act is passed, providing settlements for veterans. Many Mexican American veterans had trouble receiving this. In 1948, Felix Z. Longoria was killed in action, but is refused burial in Texas. Lyndon B. Johnson gets him buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Then Dr. Hector Garcia begins holding meetings to voice concerns for Mexican Americans. He pushed to creating the American GI Form. In 1952, the Bracero program is formed and formalized as the Mexican Farm Labor Supply Program and the Mexican Labor Agreement, which many Mexicans came from Mexico to do work. A few years later, in 1954, Operation Wetback is put in place by the U.S. government. It was to relocate and deport undocumented workers. 3.8 million people are deported. In 1956, Henry B. Gonzalez was determined to stop dozens of bills that were introduced into the Senate to preserve segregation. He stages an effective filibuster lasting 20 hours. In later years, he represented San Antonio in Congress. Many Hispanics were denied education. In 1961, Aspira is founded to promote the education for Hispanic youth. During the 1960s, many farm workers had poor pay and bad living and working conditions. In 1962, Cesar Chavez requests the president to organize the Farm Workers Forum. With Cesar Chavez's push for Mexican rights in the workforce, it worked, and the National Farm Workers Association was created. John F. Kennedy heard the voices of Mexican Americans, and he later appointed many Mexican Americans in government positions. Many Mexican Americans wanted their voices to finally be heard, and finally they were granted the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and it led to equal employment opportunities for many Mexican Americans. In 1968, many high school students began to get involved with the equal rights movement of education for many Mexican Americans and began walkouts.
In 1977, the Community Reinvestment Act was introduced to counteract the Reddling and other discriminatory banking practices. In 1979, Mexican American families are considered the lowest income. The income was $12,835 compared to non-Hispanic origin, which was $17,912. The gap lasted from 1969 to 1979. League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, was founded in 1929 by Pedro Hernández Barrera and Maria L. de Hernández. It was created to end Hispanic discrimination and to help immigrants start their American dream.
In 2015, Trump praises Operation Wetback. With Trump promoting deportation, it gave people the idea to report undocumented people. This led ICE for having the highest number of arrests in history. With President Trump in office, it was a public campaign to show Mexican Americans they were not welcome in the U.S., quoted by Natasha Iskander. Because of Trump promoting this high discrimination, 52% of Latinos surveyed in 2016 had experienced discrimination, and now estimate 54 million Latinos live in the U.S., and around 43 million speak Spanish. Because of our own President Trump promoting discrimination of many Mexican Americans are experiencing one of the biggest of the ethnic political mobilization of any group in America. He gives people the right to discriminate many Mexican Americans in the U.S.